This Sonic game, I mean, this Team Chaotix game, is a unique platformer due to coming out for the Sega 32X, an attachment that makes games 32-bit. And what does that mean? Well, I don't really know, but it didn't sound cool to the public since it only sold 800,000 copies, and the fandom doesn't really like the game that came out with it, despite the recent love for Team Chaotix. Is this just Sonic fans complaining, or is this just 90s slop? Well, let's find out. There is a new island on Planet Mobius called Carnival Island, and Knuckles is making sure nothing bad could ever happen to that place before opening day. However, Dr. Robotnik was planning to steal the Choas Emeralds for his new machine, the Kobe Confiner, which Eggman builds to get rid of Knuckles and the rest of the Chaotix. When Knuckles was just about to get done checking the park, he found out that Eggman imprisoned all the Chaotix, and the only way to save them is using the Power Ring, which can only save one person at a time. Despite the chaotic setbacks, they are going to destroy Eggman's mess to save the carnival. There's 5 players who can play as in Knuckles Chaotix, each with 2 abilities. Knuckles has the glide ability and can climb on walls. Mighty can slide and jump off walls. Charmy cannot jump, but he can fly, do a quick dash, and hover over enemies. He's kinda hard to play, but can be fun once you get used to it. SPO can run on walls and ceilings, and the most fun character to play is Vector, where he could climb, which is useful, and power boost while jumping. This is, in my opinion, the best moveset because all the other powers are fine, I just don't find myself using them. Like, why would I run on ceilings? But the climbing ability is probably the most useful move in any classic 2D Sonic game, and the quick dash is just really fun to use and my preferred method. It's kind of like sprint jumping in Minecraft. And that is the primary character selection, but you're gonna have to choose a partner. And you do that by a random claw machine. Why can't you just pick a partner? Well, that's because we need to introduce these 2 sabotage characters, being Bomb and Heavy. Heavy's problem is that he's slow, and Bomb is literally a safety hazard. And you can accidentally pick one of these in the claw machine game, so you better not end up with them. Another question you might ask is, why do you need a partner? Well, that needs to be covered in the gameplay section. You and your partner are handcuffed, hooked up to a special wing, which helps charges up speed and makes jumps higher, sort of like a slingshot. Now, is it controlled well? I mean, it's somewhat satisfying, but there are a few problems I have with it, like going through walls, but the mechanic itself is fine. Overall, mixed feelings about it, just like the power-ups, which includes the combined wing, where if you get hit and lose your wings, instead of all of them going everywhere, they'll combine into this one big wing, which makes it easier to recover. The swap just swaps your first and secondary character. Grow, which is basically the Mega Mushroom, and Shrink, basically the tiny mushroom with no benefits. And the last new power-up is Change, which just changes the character into whatever the character shows up in the item box. These new power-ups only change the gameplay drastically when playing with one of the sabotage characters. However, I do really like the Combined Wing and Mega Mushroom. Those are my 2 favorites and actually alter the gameplay. However, even with all the changes the game tries to make it more spicier, I actually think playing Sonic 2, 3, or any other classic Sonic game is more eventful because of the Playing this game makes me realize that when making a classic 2D Sonic game, the level design is the most important aspect because these levels are just not hitting. First off, to even get into a level, instead of playing all the zones in order, it is through a slot machine at random. So you can 100% all of Zone 5 and still have 0% completed on Zone 1. This also makes the game feel so dang long due to the lack of progression. And why do they do this? No, I don't have an answer to this question, they're just actually pretty dumb. Second off, the majority of the levels, I usually just do jump dash with vectors, solve a simple puzzle, go through some elevators, go up a lot of times just seeing which type of platforms I can get through, and then went to repeat, which means my brain was off halfway through the game because there's barely anything engaging. Probably because there are 5 zones and each have 5 levels instead of using the usual 2 to 3 levels per 6 zones. This game is so boring when it comes to repetitiveness. Repetitors don't have a hard time because this game is hard, rather because the levels are so pointlessly long. Sometimes you get lost, and the levels barely use the character's abilities to their advantage. Like again, I barely use any sort of wall jumping or sliding, and I sure as heck did not go on the ceiling. Let's see how the bosses do at least. There are 8 bosses in this game, and 6 of them I got in the first try. And I was literally just spamming dash attacks. And 2 of the bosses that I got first try, my controller was dead mid-fight. I don't want to go in depth with these bosses because that description literally matches the quality. The final boss in this game, first form, can literally just be beaten by just staying in the corner. And the second, it's just easy patterns. This game does the special stages the Sonic 1 style, collecting 50 wings at the end of the level, and there are only 6 Chaos wings, I guess? The special stages themselves consist of you going through an obstacle course collecting blue dots. While the special stages are a bit hard to look at, I'll be lying if I said that they weren't fun. So they get a pass for me. I actually quite like them more than some of the other classic Sonic games. Overall, this game has a lot of missing potential. It's a unique platformer that does a lot to stand out with its playstyles and its way of moving. However, the level design just doesn't mix well at all, and the boss fights are mostly just snoozes, making this game, unfortunately, mid. I guess the Chaotix ain't gonna pay rent with this one.